We have thousands of people who go missing every year, just here in the United States, and there's no discrimination on the missing. They are young, old, black, white, male or female, even children. It's time to stop. Here at Coles is still missing, and they've not found any new clues. It's women who are pregnant, it's women who have jobs, and it's women who have not seen even fetal abductions. Have you seen me? Welcome to my channel, everyone. Thank you so much for caring.
Hello everybody, welcome to Chasing a Murderer Talking News. I want to ask you guys to pretty please hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button. You can hit the notification bell if you would like notifications whenever we have new uploads. So I'm going to go straight into this. And this is because I suddenly decided to make this video and I don't have much time. We're going to talk about Joseph Ryan, Lori Vallow's third husband. And at that time, she would have been Lori Ryan. If you're not familiar with Lori Vallow's story, and guys, I'm going to switch environments, please, I want to recommend you to Connecting the Dots Part 1, at least until I get a new update up. See, Joseph Ryan, I'm not going to go into big details here because this is not about doing his background, because most of us know that. But real quick, this is Lori's third husband. And when she marries Joseph Ryan, he's doing really well because they're living in a huge, I would call a miniature mansion. Lori has a son from a previous marriage to William Lagoya. And while she's married to Joseph Ryan, she has her daughter, Tylee Ryan. As we know, she is no longer here because she was found in the backyard of her fifth husband. We really didn't know much about Joseph Ryan. Just we knew from the court documents that these two were having problems and their divorce was very messy and it was a mess. Lori was accusing Joseph Ryan of abusing the kids in several ways, and sexually is one of those. But going over the court documents and all the papers that were associated with that, it doesn't seem that they really believed what Lori was saying. They couldn't really prove that he had done anything to the children, and they felt like the children were kind of guided into saying this. In a recent interview with Colby Ryan, he's an adult and he's married and he has a child of his own now, Lori's oldest son. He claims that he remembers that Joseph Ryan had abused him. But, I really wonder if he really does. Long story short, they go to court. They don't find him guilty of this. In fact, he was he went through court and he wasn't found guilty on any of those charges. During Lori and Joseph's divorce, or after their divorce, there was a long custody battle over the daughter that these two had together. And Joseph was doing financially very well when he was with Lori, but after the divorce, his finances seemed to dwindle quite a bit. He had been attacked by Lori's brother, and later on we heard an audio come out where Lori had threatened to murder him. And these threats where she says, I was going to murder him, like it says in the Bible. She said these things at a church group meeting, basically. It was a Preparing the People group, which are a bunch of Mormons, but are they truly affiliated with the Mormon main church? Well, the church will tell you no. The majority of them are doomsday preppers, and they were preparing for the second coming of Jesus Christ. A few of them people were Chad Daybell, which was her fifth husband, Melanie Gibb, which was one of her best friends, and later on, I'm not sure how involved Alex Cox was with the preparing the people, but he was connected with them because he was pretty close with Chad Daybell. So Alex Cox, which we learned most likely is Lori's protecting angel, similar to what Brigham Young and Joseph Smith used to have, kind of like a bodyguard to their prophet. We believe, or I believe, that Lori thinks that she is the prophet, the first female prophet, sorry guys, to represent this religion. Whether or not the Mormons, all the Mormons accept this, that she's affiliated with, it's unknown. But it seems at least that small group that she's attached to with Chad Daybell and who is it? Melanie Gibb, many others, David Warwick, they all believe that she is a prophet. I think Melanie Gibb hasn't quite come out and said that, but she went from a person that was kind of like a leader attached to this preparing the people. She was speaking at all these events and things like that to somebody that was more following Lori and Chad. So it's pretty obvious that Chad Daybell, when Lori Vallow said that she wanted to murder Joseph Ryan, he was quite aware, and he was there, of how she felt about Joseph Ryan and her husband after that, Charles Vallow. In fact, Chad Daybell had actually marked him a dark spirit and even sealed him away. A long custody battle, guys, between Lori and Joseph Ryan, and he gave up everything battling to get his daughter. Now, just the other day, some new pictures come out, and we know that that investigators have opened up the Joseph Ryan case since the audio come out with Lori threatening that she wanted to murder Joseph Ryan at one point. And we're going to go over a few of those pictures. Now, I've not had a lot of time to look over these photographs, but there are a few things I would like to kind of go over. Joseph Ryan was found deceased in his apartment, and he had been deceased for a week. When they found him in that apartment, and that was because, there was a welfare check being done. It was strange that Joseph Ryan had nobody, not his sister, not anybody, concerned about not hearing from him in a week. It seemed that Joseph Ryan had kind of just fell off the face of the earth during this divorce. He didn't have any friends, really. He wasn't really connecting with his family that much. He had just visited them for Thanksgiving right before he passed away. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because that was at the beginning of this case that I seen that. And as you know, when the case first comes out, lots of things change. And then in April, he was found deceased in his apartment. The contact, if something should happen to him, was the ex-wife. Lori was now Lori Vallow, because she was married to Charles Vallow. And this was very interesting, considering the fact that he would actually, them two were not getting along whatsoever. Lori was doing the best she could to run away from him, and it was hard to know what he was exactly doing. He was trying to keep close to Tylee Ryan. Whether or not he was wanting to be close to Lori, that's not certain. Lori would move often, and one of the reasons for that was to keep Tylee away from Joseph. There's several court papers showing where they had actually, he had to go back to court in order to try to stop her from moving and to be able to visit his daughter. So what was the final say in what they believe Joseph Ryan died from? And they believe that he died from a heart attack. So before we go into this real quick, remember, He was found in his bed, deceased. And there's one thing interesting I found on a nightstand, whether it's something big or not, I don't know. That's for the investigators to figure out. But remember Tammy Daybell, Chad Daybell's first wife. How does she die? Well, autopsies. What I hear is in, but not being released. That's not positive. That's just what I'm hearing. So we know that she was coughing before she went to bed. She goes to bed, and Chad Daybell finds her deceased. And it's just a matter of hours. So here's a few pictures. So this is Joseph Ryan's kitchen. And on the stove, you can see what appears to be some type of sauce. There's not a lot of condensation on that, considering it's been there a week. There's not a lot of mold growth or anything like that, as far as I can tell. And then you see a pot sitting on the stove. Most of the kitchen seems to be in order. You can see his wallet sitting over to the left of the stove with some money clipped inside, which, if somebody had been there when it happened, you would think that that money would be missing, especially if it was Lori Vallow there, right? But it's only a few dollars. So, you know, maybe if this was any type of setup or foul play involved by somebody like Lori, they probably had no interest in a little bit of money. They probably have interest in something like a policy. So to the right here of the sink, you can see this is where Joseph had some medication out on the counter. And you can't see it right now, but there's a drawer open right there, which is kind of interesting because there are several drawers that are left open in this house. Okay, so here's a closer look to the right of that kitchen sink. And you can see where the medication is out on the counter. You can see these papers that are strewn out, which I haven't had a time to take a closer look at. But to the right, underneath the counter, you can see there's a drawer open, which seems to be mostly empty. So what I heard was this: Lori Vallow did go back to this apartment and go through it. So I'm not certain when these pictures are taken. Were these taking, well, we see Joseph Ryan laying in here. So I believe that these photos were taken before Lori actually went through everything, at least where she was allowed to, so people knew she was going in. Was she here beforehand, though? Well, there's certain little clues that somebody might have been there, because there's several drawers open. If Joseph Ryan left his house in that manner, well, then there's nothing to suspect much. But why would he open empty drawers? And let me show you what I'm talking about. So here's some pictures in the bathroom. Okay, so here's one of the drawers open. It appears that that drawer is empty. It doesn't make sense why he would open this drawer and leave it open at that, for that matter, guys. Is there a possibility he stored one item in that drawer and took it out and left it open? Possibility, yeah, of course. But moving over to your right side here, you can see there's another drawer open. It appears to also be empty. So it appears that when I look at this apartment, it just looks like it's a place to live for him, just somewhere to put his stuff. It's clear that he's a bachelor, but as I look through this apartment, and like I said, I haven't had a lot of time to go into extreme investigation on these photographs. It just appears that this is just a bachelor type guy going to work, coming home, doing what he needs to go do, and then going and redoing the day. I mean, he's just living. As you can see here, you have a Windex bottle, a cheap razor, some other items for hygiene, and not much to see. At least right now, because like I said, I haven't had time to really look at these. I want to go ahead and cover this. So this appears to be a photograph that investigators took looking into Joseph Ryan's bedroom. And he's lying in the bed there. So they're taking their photos. And since Joseph Ryan is still in the bedroom, most likely Lori Vallow, I want to mention this again, has not been in after she's been alerted to his death and going through his stuff. Again, guys, he's in the bed. You can't tell in which position that he's lying in, but you can see little hints that there has been a deceased person there for quite some time. So they do have him blurred out, thank God. I mean, there's parts of me that wants to see, I would like to at least see a chart of how he was lying on the bed. So what's interesting about this room? So for me, the first thing that I noticed was there appeared to be 2 lids to a cup. That's what it appears to be. Could they be coasters? I don't know. It's hard to tell. But it looks like type of lid to drinks to me. But the cups are missing to those, if that's what they are. Then I noticed the cough drops. And then thought about Tammy when she passed away. Does that have any connection, or was he not feeling well? Also, you can see where his drawers are shut here, and they're full. There's a plastic water bottle, 2 glasses, which you'll see these glasses throughout the house, tissues, and a piece of paper sitting on that nightstand, along with a card that you really can't make out. Now, there's nothing here extremely graphic, but if you're very sensitive, you might want to turn it off. So here, they have Joseph Ryan blurred out where he's lying on the bed, where he has been lying for at least a week. And I really need to go back over my details before I go into too much with this. I just want to talk about these pictures mainly and share them. What I noticed was this book. I found this book to be interesting because it helped me understand that my idea of what I thought Joseph Ryan was going through was most likely correct. I felt like Joseph Ryan was severely depressed, and he extremely missed his children, including his wife Lori, even all that he had been through. I mean, that was his life. That meant a lot to him. And you'll see later when you look at the apartment, it just appears that the man's just existing. So what is this book lying on the stool? Firstly, the author of this book is sharing a life experience where he says that he went through this spiritual journey. I always said that a book that a person has in their house basically tells you who they are, what their interests are, and what they're going through. So when I get time later, I'm going to go a little bit more into details, reading this book to see what it's really about, just to get a glance of what Joe Ryan might have been thinking or going through. It's actually kind of sad if you think about it. So let's get back to what the author is saying in this book. Why did he write this book? The author continues, and his origin of where this book comes from basically stems from his deep depression of suicidal thoughts and high anxiety. And when he was 29, or his 29th birthday, he woke up in the early morning hours feeling an absolute dread. And to put it short, he was not happy with his life. He felt lonesome, and he was dealing with so much misery. So oftentimes in his life, he contemplates suicide. He refers to his spiritual self, and he speaks as if we live in different universes, for lack of a better term, and describes, consciousness being separate from sometimes even reality. And he says that he is left with nothing on this physical plane, that he had no relationship, no job, no home, and no socially defined identity, which seems to be the same exact thing that Joseph Ryan is going through in this time in this moment. He has little contact with his family, and as much as he would love to have contact with his daughter, it isn't there. Again, I haven't had great time to go into major detail on this book, but it seems that it's going to teach him how to control his mind, to become more enlightened, and live life to its fullest, accepting what is there today and understanding why it's there. It also kind of teaches you to kind of live in a different conscience or state. I'm not certain why. There's several reasons you can speculate as to why he might have read this book, but I think most of it was to be able to move forward with his life without Lori and his daughter being in his life, because evidently he loved Lori and Tylee Ryan. The fact that a book like this is in his room and his isolation from social environments really makes you wonder if the accusations against him were ever really true. And let's see why. So also in this one on a spare room, I want to go to this first. So we notice in a spare room, which is most likely his office, you see boxes, loose bits of paper on the floor. You see his desk, which appears to be somewhat neat and organized. The trash can appears to be half or maybe a third full. Though the chair is pushed in, the papers seem to be quite neat on that table. There's a straggling piece of paper on the floor. So what caught my eye mostly and told me a lot about Joseph was this shelf right here. And then guys, if somebody has a way to pull these pictures out better than I can, and I'll show you the ones that I pulled out, please share them with me, please. But anyways, what I noticed is on this shelf, it's all Tylee Ryan and Joseph Ryan. For those of you that cover the story, even though you can't see those pictures, you know exactly what they are. So the picture on the right is this picture, and it appears that Joseph Ryan really doesn't have that many photos of him and Tylee, but this must be one of his very favorite photos of him and his daughter. He has it framed and put onto this little shelf that seems to be put there just to put these pictures of him and Tylee, especially Tylee, on. So this gives you a new perspective on how Joseph Ryan felt about Tylee and why his fight for custody for her lasted so long. He spent his entire life focused on getting custody of that child, which sadly never happened. It kind of makes you feel or start to agree with these psychiatrists who evaluate Tylee and Colby both, suggesting that maybe the mom coached them and to believe in that that Joseph Ryan was abusing the children. The fact that so many years Joseph Ryan is thinking about his daughter and the love that he has for his daughter really starts to take a little bit of that dark side that we have learned about him away. We know that this did go to court, and in court it was just not proven that he ever did anything to these children. I wish I had the dates and stuff in front of me right now, but I don't. I'm kind of winging it, just going free with this, guys. I've got so much time, and it's Christmas time, and my husband's about to come in, and so I just wanted to kind of share these photos, go over a few things that come to mind as we look at them. So I really haven't had time to figure out which photo this one is that we're looking at right there. And this one appears like a wedding photo. It really does. You see the silver around it. the white dress. So that I would love to know who is in that picture. But that's the best I could sharpen it up with the free photo apps that I have. I just don't make enough money on this channel to be able to pay monthly subscriptions. So his living room area is very, very bland, very just basic. You got a TV, a stool, chair, cheap couch, a table, and also you see this kind of exercise equipment and a few papers strewn on the floor. So you can see that here, and I have a zoom in on those papers. I'll try to get that up in a second. You see the end table. It's just a cheap little table with these little drawers attached where he can put his paperwork in. You can see one of the glasses on that table. There doesn't appear to be any of the matching lid type things on this table like in the bedroom. It just seems like he has his papers kind of strolled out, like he had just opened them and just threw them in there, which is kind of strange. Remembering what his desk looked like, and then you see these papers that he has thrown on the couch, but they're also in a decent pile. And then on the other table, you see Kleenex, just like in his bedroom. One shoe on the floor, a chair, and a tennis ball, it appears to be underneath that stool. Nothing major to really look at. I'll try to do another video when I have time to actually try to clean up these photos better if I can with the free stuff I have. I wish I could make enough off this channel to where I could afford. Those things aren't cheap. The photo editors, the good ones and stuff like that. So anyways, I could never make out what that picture is. Maybe somebody else can. If you think you know what it is, drop it in comments below. All right, and so here's a better look at what was on the counter in the bathroom. So you can see the Windex there, and there's several other items. A card. Lids are kind of out, but it's not too horribly messy for a bachelor, I don't think. Okay, and here's what's inside his medicine cabinet. So you can see these are some pretty common things. You have like Visine type stuff. You have cough medicine, hygiene care. And I haven't had time to read each and every one, but I really don't know exactly what all's up there because some of it's kind of blurry. And so this is another angle of the bedroom. Joseph Ryan's bedroom. You can see that most of his closet is full with like just some dress shirts and dress pants and belts and this sort of thing. It is obvious that he's just focused on probably work and church. It really just seems to me, I get that Joseph Ryan is mentally not in his best. And I don't know what he was like before. Only Annie Cushion knows this. Only she can give us an idea of who he is. But she never seems to really give us that. So Annie, if you're listening, tell us a little bit about your brother and what he was like. What y'all's relationship was like. It would help get to know Joseph Ryan. So in one of the other closets you can see here, there's a bag full of, I don't understand what this bottled water and stuff is for. Is this like a little stockpile of emergency things with a bunch of plastic bags? Even more interesting, what is this a photo of? Is this Lori Vallow? And who's to the right? Could that be Annie? I mean, I really can't make that out. Who is this a picture of? Then I thought to myself, maybe it's not a picture. Maybe it's a DVD or a book. Maybe it's a book. So I even tried to use Bixby to see if I could pull something out, but I only did it a few minutes, so I'll probably find out what it is later. Okay, so here's another shot in the kitchen where you can better see his wallet and his clip. And it looks like just a very small amount of money there. So it's not worth taking if somebody was there beforehand. But I do see another bunch of papers right there. Again, I'm not able to make it out with the cheap free photo editing software I have at the moment. Once I have enough money coming in monthly that I know that it will pay for some of that kind of stuff, I'll get stuff like Photoshop, but that stuff is not cheap. So what I want to do is talk about Joe Ryan and his death. What happened to him after they found him? So we know that Joseph Ryan was cremated probably by default. And we know that his emergency contact of all people was Lori Vallow. So we have to wonder, I haven't had a chance to find out why Lori Vallow is the main contact, because it's clear that he did not trust Lori Vallow very much. And let me tell you why. This makes me think that. Now, this could be, this is absolutely speculation, guys, but I was looking at the locks on the doors at this place. Is it normal that the apartments that he's living in naturally have 3 locks? If somebody has time to look into that and share it, please do. I just haven't. That's something I do want to look into, because look at the locks on these doors. So here you go. 1, 2, 3 locks. So that door was pretty secure. So is it a bad area, or is this something that maybe he could have had installed? I don't know. So I will be looking into that to see why there's so many locks on that door. I'll add a few pictures here I haven't shown you guys, like his passports and that sort of thing. We know that Lori was definitely trying to destroy Joseph Ryan's character. We know that Lori didn't want Joe to have anything to do with Tylee Ryan, and she didn't want him to even get visitation if she could have got away with that. So one of the questions you have to ask is, how good was his health? Well, there are signs in that apartment that he lived in. He had this blood pressure checker, which a lot of people seem to have these days, whether they're sick or not. But he did have medication in the kitchen, which I would love to know what medications he was on, but they blocked that out. So he was possibly dealing with health issues, which I haven't had time to investigate either. And on his driver's license, he was an Arizona resident. So he was, following Lori Vallow, definitely. He had lived in Texas, moved to Arizona when Lori moved to Arizona. So it appears, if you look at the driver's license, it was issued September 5th of 2017. So apparently sometime around that date, if he updated his driver's license, it's probably around that time that he moves to that area. Unless this is just a new license. So, that gives you an idea for a timeline. It's not exact, but it gives you a direction to go in. Now, it is said that when Joseph Ryan was cremated, that there was 2 tissue samples saved. And I believe that when somebody passes away and they've been there for that long and nobody's spoken up, you should probably keep a lot more samples than that. One thing I find interesting is the insurance policy, and I believe that Lori lived on these kids. Well, tried to. She at least tried to live on Tylee Ryan on child support, and as well as her new son that she adopted, JJ Vallow. Remember, Tylee was 16, about to turn 17, when she disappeared. That meant that any child support payments were about to end. And it's interesting that Joseph Ryan died in 2018, because if you think about the insurance policies and the child support payments, As far as the insurance policy through work, the original divorce from Texas requires that Mr. Ryan carry life insurance and that the beneficiary be the custodial parent. So this is done so that they're able to continue to get the child support payments until the child is 18. So if you were to think about it, Lori Vallow, if something happened to Joe Ryan, okay, so if Joe Ryan, when he died, it was probably the most profitable time for Lori or Tylee, whoever received the monies, because this way she received the full child support during, the time that he was alive, and then she's approaching the last 2 years that she can get child support. Once he passes away, that she gets that full chunk of money from the insurance plus a few years of Social Security death benefits. So this actually raises red flags for me of, if Lori was involved, there is kind of a motive there. I really need to be careful because there's no evidence saying Lori did anything to him, but a lot of people suspect that she might have had something to do with his death. So, on the death certificate of Joseph Ryan, it states that he had a heart attack. And as I mentioned before, we are still awaiting the death certificate and autopsy of Tammy Daybell. A lot of people are wondering, why is it taking so long to get that? We've gotten Alex Cox. We know what he died from, which is also still suspicious to many people. But why is it that Tammy Daybell's cause of death is not available? That is still very interesting. But remember that in that state, that I believe, and I'm sorry for the puppy barking, guys, in that state, I believe that the family has the rights to whether to release that autopsy or not. Also, not only that, it's still tied up in this case, so there's no telling right now. Guys, it was incredibly difficult trying to get this made today with all the noise surrounding if you live in an active community. It was impossible, and then you have a living household as well. So please forgive the background noise. There's just nothing I can do about that today, no matter where I went. And also, I did get a decent mic in after Leela chewed up several. She's a monster. But anyways, guys, what I wanted to do was get these pictures up for you guys so that you can kind of evaluate Joe's apartment for yourself. Maybe come up with your own ideas. Maybe you could find something I missed. Like I said, I haven't really had time to go in deep detail and investigate these photos. So, guys, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and I would say thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.